Alrighty, everybody, we have another breach and it may affect OpenAI a smidgen. And so let's get going on this. So MixPanel has a breach and let's move. So first of all, the credits. Bleeping Computer is the article that I read. OpenAI, I went to their website to read their press release. MixPanel, same thing. I went to their site to review their press release. Google Gemini used for images. I actually use Google Gemini images in Google Slides. And so I think it creates nicer images for me for my presentations. And of course, Notebook LM, because I always throw everything into Notebook LM. I like to organize my thoughts. I love using the mind map, and I actually am becoming a huge fan of their slides. And so I may pull some of their slides up, but right now, these very basic generic slides are mine. So the short story is MixPanel had a smishing attack, and OpenAI is a customer of MixPanel, and so they are notifying their customers that are affected. So the summary is that in November, which is this month, there was an exposure of limited customer data belonging to users of the OpenAI API product. It serves as a key case study in supply chain risk management and the dangers of social engineering. The security incident was not a breach of OpenAI. It was an unauthorized access occurred from the MixPanel systems. MixPanel is the third-party vendor that OpenAI used until just recently, and MixPanel's services involve web analytics. MixPanel detected the attack, which resulted from a smishing campaign, on November 8th. This allowed the attacker to gain unauthorized access to part of the MixPanel systems and export some of their data. So right now, they are saying only users of the OpenAI API product were affected. Users of ChatGPT or other OpenAI products were not impacted. So this, crucially, this is highly sensitive data was not compromised. No chat content, no API usage data, no passwords, no credentials, no API keys, no payment details or government IDs were exposed. So users were generally not required to reset passwords or regenerate API keys. So right now, OpenAI is not recommending that you have to reset your passwords or create or regenerate API keys. So some of the data that was exposed or accessed was the name that was provided to on the API account. So if you have an administrator, that was theirs. Email address associated with that API account. The course location based on API user browser information. Operating system and the browser used to access the API account. Referring websites, organization or user IDs associated with the API account. So who is MixPanel? MixPanel is basically they're an analytics company. OpenAI, again, is their customer. So here's their site. They don't have an About Me page, but basically their solutions, their platforms are all about analytics. So OpenAI, do we really have to tell you who OpenAI is? Most people will recognize OpenAI as ChatGPT. So they are an artificial intelligence platform, and they are one of the biggest companies in the world right now. So the OpenAI API, the website is platform.openai.com. So if you are not sure that you're affected, well, one, you'll be notified, and then two, you have to access this site. You have to have an account, and it has to be active already. So what is an API? It's an application programming interface, and it acts as an intermediary or a gateway, defining how a program can request or receive services between the two platforms. So what is smishing? It's a social engineering attack. It involves using text messages. Some people may still recognize it as SMS, which is short message services, and that's where the SM comes from, smishing. And it falls under the phishing umbrella, but it is a social engineering attack. And so somebody probably, or a couple people maybe, fell victim to some text messages that they probably should have tried to avoid or ignore. So what are the mitigations? So right now, OpenAI and MixPanel are saying treat any unexpected emails or messages with caution, especially if they include links or attachments. And when they say messages, I would say text messages as well, or even through some of your other platforms. Double check that any message claiming to be from OpenAI is sent from an official OpenAI domain. If you're not sure, don't open it and just use your official resources to reach out to OpenAI. OpenAI does not request passwords, API keys, verification codes through email, text, or chat. So remember that. I can't think of any companies that do. So anytime you get a request in an email or from a text or from a chat that asks you for your passwords, your API keys, or any kind of verification codes, be very cautious. That's usually a bad sign. That's a red flag. Further protect your account by enabling multi-factor authentication, and make sure that you keep track of this stuff. This is hard stuff to keep track of, and sometimes hard to be situationally aware when you're in a hurry and you're under pressure to get things done. So incident reporting, this is the basic incident reporting for anything. So if you have a company, you want to make sure you notify like the local FBI, you want to report to CISA, you got a phone number here. For NSA client requirements or general cybersecurity inquiries, you can reach out to NSA. If you're from Australia or Canada, you also have options as well. And so a local incident reporting. So if you have some questions or you have some concerns about this particular incident, you please review any communications you get from MixPanel. Again, be cautious though if you get some from MixPanel or from OpenAI. Make sure that you feel comfortable that these are legitimate requests. Don't provide anything in a response to them, especially if you did not initiate it through their proper channels. If you did not receive a communication from MixPanel or OpenAI, you don't require any action, so your accounts were not impacted. If you have any questions about the incident, you can contact support@mixpanel.com. And again, the credits for this: Bleeping Computer, OpenAI, MixPanel, Google Gemini, where I use for images, Notebook LM for everything else. And so now let's go through everything real quick. That's the gist of it. Here's the article that I read. I know that I read a lot of the Bleeping Computer stuff. They actually do a really good job. You should check them out. And they're pretty quick to post. OpenAI has a really good site or page referencing this information. So I guess you can call it the press release. They're saying that transparency is important. They're notifying you that platform.openai.com has been affected. They tell you when it happened. November 9th, MixPanel was affected. And then November 25th, OpenAI started their own investigation after they were notified by MixPanel. What does this mean for impacted users? User profile information associated with the use of the platform may have been included in the data exported from MixPanel. And again, they're emphasizing that this is information that was taken from MixPanel. It wasn't taken from OpenAI. That's important to remember, although there's still a lot of security concerns using artificial intelligence, chatbots, assistants, agents, and everything. You have to recognize when something isn't their fault and how it affects you when you use their product. But right now, they're saying kind of the regular users aren't affected. And if you do have an API account, this particular information may be limited. That doesn't make it less severe, it just may be limited. And so their response is they're having their own security investigation. They're notifying impacted organizations, admins, and users directly. They have found no evidence of any effect on the systems or data outside of MixPanel. And they are not going to, it sounds like they're not going to be using MixPanel. They have severed their relationship with them right now. And I'm sure that doesn't hurt them too much. They're recommending, some of the things they're recommending again is treat unexpected emails, messages with caution, double check that any message claiming to be from OpenAI and MixPanel for that case come from the official domains, do multi-factor authentication, and they have a nice FAQ here. And so Again, this is one of those things where it is all about, it's all about supply chain and third-party vendors. And so there will be times, many times, since we're all working together on the internet, that these kind of things happen. And the best thing you can do is do the best you can to protect your stuff. Don't fall under the impression that just because you have a great security program at your company, that your third party vendors also have that. You need to do your due diligence with that. And so now let me show you my Open API data exposure slideshow from Notebook LM. And again, I really like these. I did not create this. I use this more to help me learn. I know that these slides look much better than mine, but this is one of the things that you can do in Notebook LM. And so here you go. Here's a nice slide that says the impact was limited to some API users. So you see all OpenAI users in the gray box. You see ChatGPT and other product users over here, and it says not impacted. And then over here, you see API product users, some users impacted. So this is a really nice visual. And then here's the timeline we talked about. November 8, the vendor incident. November 9, data was exported. Post November 9, they notified OpenAI, and the data shared. They reached out to OpenAI around this time to tell them what was going on and finalized their report. OpenAI's investigation was immediate. And so here it talks about their containment and investigation and their vendor remediation. So although they said that they may have severed ties with MixPanel, they also are engaging in other reviews real quick with their other vendors as well. Here's their statement about MixPanel and the path forward. The decision, after a thorough review of this incident, OpenAI has terminated the use of MixPanel. And recommended precautions. This is a really nice slide. Maybe I'm going to start using their slides. Be vigilant, verify senders, never share credentials, and enable multi-factor. They have frequently asked questions, which are really good, and strengthening their vendor security ecosystem. They're expanding their audits. They have elevated requirements, and they are continually monitoring. So this is a really nice presentation about the incident. I still like mine, but you think you make your own decisions, but hope you enjoyed this brief, super nice presentation. Thank you. See you later. Bye-bye.